Councilman Langowski. Councilwoman Ron.
Present.
Councilman Martinez. Mayor O'Connor. We have a quorum.
We are here today to discuss best format for tonight is we're going to do we're going to move. So we got everything back finding. You have a moment just to get to your resume. So,
My job, never work off. I signed here in Westlake 4 years ago. So we were one of the first 100 homes, I believe, in economics, and have been involved in the community since then. We were for Friday when there was 10 of us, and now to see things like Ward Fest, being scheduled is amazing to me to see how much the city has grown in the past 4 years. I sold the home in the hammocks and love Westlake so much that we decided to build again and go through that process, and we're now building. So we've been here since basically the beginning and have been involved with. I am very invested in the community. I work from home, so I'm here most of the time. I also walk the neighborhood nightly and out on Town Center Parkway and Persimmon just to check everything out. I think I see a lot of things and observe a lot of things that most people don't if they're just commuting in and out to work. Little things that I'm sure you guys have been made aware of and stuff as the, purple lights out on the street or the sprinklers that go off when people are trying to walk. Just minor things that I'm sure I could bring a new perspective to being someone that is here most of the week, in and out of the city. I'm excited for all the projects that you guys have set in place, the church, the new stores, the Drive Grove. I think, the current council has been doing amazing. I'd love to be another member and bring also another female representative. I know I'd be in good company here. And I have no experience in city council, but I am a fast learner, motivated. I'm very organized and task oriented. I'm good in a team player setting. And you know, as a business owner, I think my experience with that brings lots of people. I know the city is similar to running a business, and I have experience and allocating funds for a budget and all those kind of things that kind of work hand in hand between a business and a city. But other than that, I think that's pretty much about me. If you guys have any additional questions.
Way to keep it at 2 minutes. Thank you, Ms. Abrams. Why don't we just go down the line? Julian, do you mind if we start with you?
What brought you to Westlake?
We weren't looking to move. My husband grew up in Loxahatchee and we were visiting some family, came out here, saw the models, fell in love with the area and the promise of everything that was to come. And back then the pool wasn't even, you know, around or a thing. And just took that leap of faith that the city would become what everyone said it would be. And it's become so much more than that.
Got it. Thank you.
No problem.
I know you. I know your family.
yes.
I know we've been here together since the beginning of the community.
Absolutely.
So I know your husband was very involved in our association.
Mhm.
My question is, from that perspective, what did you learn about it? What will you bring to our council member that it will make you different than anybody else?
Right. Absolutely. When we first got here, my husband was very involved and was the first board member in all of Westlake in the hammocks. We learned a lot of positives and negatives from there. I think the Facebook page was one of the main things that we learned about and kind of steering clear of the anything that went on board related shouldn't really be spoken about on Facebook. And I think you guys have kind of followed that with the city council. But just basically being someone who listens to what the people want. I think that building in here twice, you know, I know a lot of what the residents expect and what they kind of go through in the building process. So just being involved in listening, I think actively listening, you know, and understanding what frustrations people could, you know, encounter when they're building or anything like that, because I think there's very limited problems in the city to begin with. So, you know, it's a great place to live.
Yes, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just a quick question. I know
Yeah.
you touched really briefly on the budgets. Can you go a little bit more into budgets?
Yeah, so I've been with my company for 12 years where we do over $1 million in sales a year. And so I have to allocate funds for budgeting with vendors, subcontractors, all my staff, you know, just the normal operating expenses that a business would entail. I'm sure that it's very similar to what you all, you know, allocate funds for the city.
We just doing a rotation back or? just keep
Yeah,
going?
no, I mean, we're still on schedule, so we can keep going, but, I've got a couple questions. First one is, as a business owner myself, it's something that I struggle with, but, you know, I'm making it work, is time management. Being the principal of your company, how do you anticipate being able to manage the time that it may take to devote towards the city council?
Absolutely. So I am
and
fortunate.
handle your own?
Right. I am fortunate enough to work from home. So as I said before, I'm here all the time. I have multi-branch offices for my company. So I'm not the one that's chained to the desk and the phones constantly. I have a lot of staff, private investigators that are out in the field doing the work. So I do have a good amount of downtime and I am here in my home office, you know, so it's not, whereas if you're a business, you're out there doing installs and all that, I'm kind of more behind the scenes and I'm in a job basically where I am overseeing everybody, but I'm not actually out there in the field doing the day-to-day tasks, which gives me a little bit more freedom.
How much staff do you have under management now? How many employees?
I have, in my branch, I have about 8 private investigators. I have another branch that they probably have similar and a couple of office management. So probably 20 to 30.
And then I've just got like a zinger. If you had to pick one,
Mhm.
limited to one, what would you say is the greatest challenge facing the city of Westlake in the future?
Access to the amenities. Absolutely. I think that we're already starting to see a little bit of issue with people from the acreage in Loxahatchee coming in using the pool. And I know there's been the posts about that, but I do think it's a little bit lenient. Even things like the dog park that you can reach over and turn the handle and you're into the dog park. You don't have to live within the city to get into there. So I think as we continue to grow and as we get more amenities like the adult pool that's opening, I think that's probably going to be somewhere that we should tighten up, you know, security and things like that.
Interesting. Thank you.
Mhm.
We can keep going around. We're still on schedule, but if you guys have more questions.
I don't.
I don't.
I do. I have a question for you tonight.
Sure.
If appointed, is there something you're looking to accomplish besides what you mentioned with the amenities?
I think just a lot of minor things. Like I mentioned, I do walk nightly. So the sprinklers, the street lights, the amenity access, you know, I'm not trying to come in here and shake up the pot. I know you guys have been doing a great job on your own. I have never been on a city council, so I'd love to learn from all of you as well. And I'm sure there are many things that we could come up with, many ideas in the future.
Anything else?
No, good.
Mr. Castle? All right. Very good. Thank you so much
No
for your
problem.
time.
Thank you guys for the
Appreciate it.
opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on my list here. Mrs. Charlotte Leonard. Did I get it right?
You did. Good evening to the mayor, city manager, and our city councilman. My name is Charlotte Leonard. I am a native of Palm Beach County in Florida. I grew up in the oldest African-American city in the county, which is Pleasant City. I have gone to middle, elementary, of course, high school, all those here. I left in 1977 to go off to Nashville to Fisk University, and I returned to the community, and I've been working in healthcare since. I work in long-term care. I am a regional director. I oversee 7 nursing homes in Palm Beach County, 2 in Fort Myers. So I am constantly working with the seniors in this community, but also with young families that are trying to make ends meet. So I'm balancing that act. Let me see a little bit more about me. I have built 3 homes in Palm Beach County. This is, of course, the 3rd. I built in Lake Charleston when it was new, down off of Hypalexo and Jog. We built in Sunterra when it was a new community, and now we're in Westlake. We've been here about a year. And trying to think of what else I can tell you about me. Last year, I did take a course in Women on the Run with the Women's Foundation in anticipation of getting involved in city government or city management. Never knew this opportunity would be right around the corner, but here we are. And so that is a little bit about me. I have 2 sons. One is an optometrist in Palm Beach County. The youngest is in IT, and he lives in Tampa. And my husband and my mother and I moved here because my mother was still living in Pleasant City, which is the community where I grew up. And with COVID and being isolated for 2 years, we decided to move her in with us. Hence, we needed a bigger home, a new home. So we found Westlake through a brother-in-law that was working with Yamilet at the sales center. And so took us a little minute to really wrap our brain around when you're from Palm Beach County and you lived on the east side of town. It's a little bit of an adjustment to think about moving out to Seminole Pratt Road because you never thought that anything would actually ever be out here on Seminole Pratt Road except Lion Country Safari. And so when I tell people now I live a street over from Lion Country Safari, they're like, what? You know, but that is why we moved to Westlake about a year ago. And that's a little bit about me.
Excellent. Keep our same order here.
Oh, okay. What brought your interest into city management?
I think I'm interested in city management here and just really learning and seeing how we're going to, I guess, sustain this city. I think the square footage is limited. And I think being involved at the front end, I'm bringing in businesses, bringing in, and I think recreation, social, those different arms of, I guess, the city, that's going to help us sustain and be sustainable so that the citizens of Westlake, one, can enjoy where we live, but also have opportunity to work and to play here. But we don't want to be overtaxed, or we don't want to be. So I think getting involved in government from the front end and really helping to build this city so that it is sustainable over time, I think is the reason why. So
Absolutely. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Hi, how you
Hi.
doing, Charlotte?
I'm good.
I'm like you. I work many, many years, well, in long-term facilities and rehab facilities. So I know what you do. I don't doubt that you are very good managing, because that takes a lot of management and skills and stuff, you know? But my question is, being the person that you've been working in long-term facilities, what do you want to bring from there to our city? What will you use? What skill will you use to take to our city council to help us?
Well, I think as an operator, one of the skills that we have to have is how to budget, how to balance people, how to make hard decisions about the revenue. If the money isn't coming in, where do we need to adjust the expenses? I do this literally daily, so I can talk about this on a daily basis. And also bringing in the government, the regulatory. I work in an industry that's highly regulatory. So I'm daily balancing how do I meet the demands of the federal and state government while also meeting the demands of our company, who wants a profitable bottom line at the end of the day, and then add in the employees and people. So I think having to balance all of those skills daily is what I would bring to the council.
Perfect. My other question, I also know Lake Charleston is a very beautiful community. Do you see us, what do you see the difference between Lake Charleston and us? What do you think that you will bring from where you come from? And do you think we're better? What do you think that we're better at?
Well, I don't know if it's better. I think when we built in Lake Charleston, it was new, 1990, because my son was 1992 or something around that time. And it's not a city. It was more of a community at the time. There was nothing out there but farmland. Where I think what Westlake brings is the city concept. We're going to have the shops, and we're going to have the restaurants, and we're going to have the businesses. And I think being self-sustaining is what makes Westlake different from Lake Charleston and makes it better. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, Councilman Lingowski.
Okay. A couple questions were already taken, so on the budget side, that was my question also with the budgets, but I see you covered $2 million in your budget, which is I think it's very good, because as we get ready now for the next year, the summer, getting ready for our budget and progressing into next year, that'll be something that's important. Is there anything that since you've been here a year now, anything that's glaring that you see that you would like to maybe focus on besides development of other businesses coming into town?
Having the gates at Meadows work and me
That'd
be
be a good
able
thing. I
to
live
get in
next to
and
it. The back
secure
door
and
works.
yeah, outside of that. You know, I that would be the only thing. I also walk up to the community center. I've been in the pool. I do Zumba on Saturday mornings, you know, so I haven't seen any other issues. The dust has settled from the new development. So I'm looking forward to the homes being complete and us really just getting to that next phase of enjoying the community, but that's all.
Good. Hi.
Hi.
So if I'm reading this correctly, I mean, to say you're already in a leadership role would be an understatement. If I'm reading this right, you've got almost 1,700 employees that you oversee, 11 facilities, 150 plus employees each. How do you see yourself bringing that leadership ability to our council and putting it into work here at the city?
I think part of the leadership that that I can bring and what I do every day is one, listening. I have administrators under me that run those individual facilities. And one of my roles is to be a mentor and a coach and really a resource to them. And so coming on as a leader for the council, I think being able to support the projects, but also being able to assist with the people part and just being able to work with the community, communication, and just helping where I can, not always being out front. And because you're going to be the leader, I think, of the entire group, but I think every leader brings something different. That may be, I may be good at, and I don't want to say taking notes or something like that, but I may be the one that's looking at the budget for you and really analyzing and seeing things that maybe some of the other councilmen maybe don't have that talent. I might be able to look at the human resource part of it and see where we can reduce maybe, and I don't want to say this out loud, but employees or labor, or look at resources that we may be able to bring in the city or vendors. So those are the leadership skills that I can bring, because I don't have to be the leader in terms of leading you to that next level, but I can also be a leader by following and also providing support.
Fantastic. Can you give, just because I'm not familiar what a Masters of Health Law is, can you just give me a quick 2 seconds on that degree? Does that make you a lawyer? Does it make you
So
a,
that's kind of like what wanted to be a lawyer, but got a master's in health law instead. No. So what it really is it's the master or the study of the regulations in the healthcare industry. So instead of going to law school, even though it was Nova and it was under the law department of Nova, it's not a law degree. It's basically just the regulatory and the compliance part of healthcare, studying how the rules and regulations dictate how we operate.
fantastic. And last question, and I'm sure it's here someplace or I saw it somewhere, but volunteer work and community involvement now. I don't see it in front of me. Are you involved in any community programs or
Yes. So right now I am involved with the National Coalition of 100 Black Women. I am the the organization's health chair. So I chair our health committee, and I've been involved with putting on community health workshops. I created a Zoom workshop where we can educate the community and women on health issues that impact them in Palm Beach County. I'm also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, where I was the past president. I ran our foundation, and now I'm an active member, letting the younger people take over. So, but yeah.
wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're still open
Thank
if
you.
anybody has any follow-ups.
No, it was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Leonard, thank you. All right. Yes. All right. Ms. Tammy Thomas.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me, Mayor and council members. My name is Tammy Thomas. I am a native to South Florida. I was born and raised here in South Florida, in Broward County specifically, and I went away for a couple of years, for a few years, in the Northeast particularly, up in Boston as well as New York City. So that's where we just moved back down from about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. I have a background in all of my service and work experience have been as public servant in either the nonprofit, public, or government entities. Currently, I am now in the nonprofit sector as the program director at Goodwill, Gulfstream Goodwill, over at the Lewis Center, where we serve and provide different services, wraparound services for behavioral health, serve homeless individuals, as well as other special needs populations. So again, my background is in public health. I was formerly just working from home actually during the pandemic for the New York City Health Department as the director of strategic payer initiatives, but due to COVID, we had to combat the outbreak in New York City. So that's where I was able to gain a lot of my experience really just working with the pandemic. I had gotten a psychology degree from the University of South Florida, and the reason why we returned back to South Florida is because I had twin boys. So I'm a mom, and we were particularly interested in coming to Westlake because it is a family-oriented community. My father is actually also in public service as a first responder for the city of Pembroke Pines now for over 30 years. So it's something that I grew up in. It's something that I've been dedicated to and very passionate about. I'm actually also currently pursuing my doctoral degree in public health. I have 1 year now, 1.5 years down, 3 more to go. And so I'm very, very passionate about the community and public engagement and public policy, and just really just trying to make an equitable system, and health care access is really my passion, particularly in health and human services is what my background's in. And I also worked at the state of Massachusetts, also for the Department of Public Health and the Division of Insurance there. It's a little bit about myself.
Excellent, thank you.
Sounds like you're spread a little thin. Sounds like you have a lot on your plate right now. You still work for New York City?
I don't. I formerly did, but now I currently work for West Palm Beach Gulfstream Goodwill as program director at the Lewis Center
Gotcha, understood. And where did you guys live previously?
in New York City.
In New York City. So raised in New York City, then moved down to Palm Beach County?
No, born and raised in South Florida, in Hollywood. And
Hollywood, okay.
Coral Springs Parkland is where I attended high school.
Gotcha, okay. How'd you guys migrate to Westlake?
So my parents actually built a community in the developer Minto. So we were familiar with Minto, the builder. And so when we did move down to Florida, we looked at the builder. Here was a great community. I'm familiar with South Florida. My husband's also a clinician, and he works for HSS, which is located in Palm Beach County. So we were able to do that transfer to West Palm Beach. And like I said, because we have 2 young boys that are 2 years old, so our hands are full for sure. Westlake was very attractive for the reason that it was very family oriented.
Yeah, I think we all agree.
It's a great place to start our family.
How you doing, Tammy?
Good.
Very impressive. Let me ask you something. I always been passionate about public health. I think it's a very good career. What do you do in Goodwill? Can you explain us a little bit more of your position there?
Sure. So I'm there currently. I'm relatively new. I had worked for the Health Southeast Council before that, as well as program director of programs. And that's currently my role now at Gulfstream Goodwill, as well as the director of programs. So I oversee all of the different services, the shelter services. I believe there's the annexes at the fairgrounds on Southern Boulevard, as well as 2 shelters in the Western regions in Pahokee and Belglade. And so I oversee all of those facilities and help run all of the program services, navigation, case management, helping people get into rapid rehousing, help with our budgets for different programs, and whatever support that their leadership of Goodwill is needed. There's also a lot of people always think of thrift store, which me included, but there's several different services, Gulfstream Goodwill services and industries. So there's a school, there's, like I said, homeless shelters. There are many different services for the health and human support.
And you said your father is a first responder?
Yes, for
Like-
the city of Pembroke Pines. He
What?
worked for the Department of Police Department
Oh, for the
as a
police
code
department.
compliant. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, that he's in Pembroke Pine?
Yes, Pembroke Pines for 30 years now. Mhm.
So now I'm going to ask you the same thing.
Sure.
Like, I see your career. What do you do? What will you bring to Westlake with your knowledge and your skills? What will you bring to this city council?
Sure. So that's a very easy question. As I said, I'm very, very passionate. Making the decision to go back to school while I have 2 kids and have a leadership position already in my work experience. Public health is very important to me, and healthcare access is primarily my biggest drive. And I was actually getting through, just because I am a public health nerd, I got to look through the US Census, and I saw that 30%, according to the 2020 US Census, of our constituents did not have healthcare access, which is a significant gap. And so I think that's something that I would be very passionate about. I do know that we have Wellington Regional and the medical center that's here across the way. So trying to build that gap and bridge between healthcare access and providing more opportunities for the wellness and total well-being, being able to look at an adequate network of health providers and bringing more physicians or clinicians to the area, or even just helping with that gap. That's what I would be.
Thank you.
referring to. Sure.
Excellent. Thank you.
And of course, the outbreak, because COVID is important to me.
Well, Tammy, thank you for your work at the Lewis Center. I've been there many times. And
Oh, great.
great facility. And thank you for your work that you do there.
Thanks.
Have you ever had any roles in budgets?
Yes, so as the director of programs, there's a lot of grants. It's a nonprofit entity, and as I said, I've been working in public and nonprofit sector and government. So we have to either, when it was working with the government, we had to submit our budgets to the federal government or to the state government, depending on which agency I worked for, whether it was state or city, as well as in our programs at the Lewis Center or other entities that I've worked for as well. Reviewing our grants that are given and making sure that our programs are able to run efficiently and working closely with the director of finance or the finance team. And checking our monthly variances, sending in our reports to the regulators or whoever the funding or resources are provided by. So any sort of monthly reviews. That's my experience with budgets.
Okay. And you've been here over a year now.
Mhm.
Have you thought about any, maybe your vision of economic development within the city? Because we still have room to grow.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. As I said, I think economic development, I would love to see the healthcare system really just come in and bring in those resources and also be able to provide that healthcare access that I was talking about. I think that's where my focus would be, but of course, any other business development, I would love to see the city grow. I want to raise our boys here, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ms. Thomas, hi,
Hi.
how are you?
Good.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks.
It's a pleasure to meet you. This resume is very impressive. I was looking forward to meeting you for sure, between the summa cum laude and the JD candidate, and now you're going for your PhD. It's certainly very impressive. I can't find it now, but I know I read it. You held public office at one point, or you were a government official?
So I worked for the government, yeah, so New York City government as a public health official, and then the State Department of Public Health in Massachusetts and the Division of Insurance, so government sector. And then while I was working for the Massachusetts Department of Health, I was appointed by the governor to serve on the Drug Formulary Commission. There was an opioid epidemic that occurred, so the governor, Charlie Baker, had deemed a public epidemic, and I was able to sit on that board, the commissioner, as a commissioner temporarily. Yep.
Excellent. Thank you.
So I held that public official position for a while, for about a year.
So I know you touched on it. You're relatively new at Gulfstream Goodwill. Actually, full disclosure, I made some calls. I think you just started maybe 2 weeks ago. or
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
So congratulations
I did the research. Yes.
on that job.
Very new.
I gotta say, when I was told what your job description entailed, I mean, it probably took him 5 minutes just to read it to me. It was quite extensive. And you also will have lots of employees under management in your leadership role at Gulfstream Goodwill. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked another candidate. How do you anticipate managing that time between your career and your serving in public office here at the city?
So I get asked that question a lot, all the time. You'd be surprised. And the same answer will always go. And it's just just to be candid and transparent. Being a mom, a twin mom, especially, I think has really disciplined me, if not more than anything else that I've done. I've always held 2 jobs. I've always been working. And if I'm driven by something that I'm passionate about, and as I said, I've worked in public sector and the government or in nonprofit agency, and something that I'm dedicated to doing forever, for as long term as I can. So I think really just being a mom and being able to find that balance between family life and work life, and wanting to also achieve all of my dreams, and being a first generation American and being the first person in my family to graduate college, My parents are immigrants, so I really, it sounds very cheesy, but it's the American dream. And I'm a driven person. So just discipline, I guess, self-discipline.
Fantastic. Thank you. How long have you been back in Florida?
We moved back in 2020. So our twins were born in 2019 and we moved in
So
2020.
about 2 years now.
Yeah.
Have you been involved in any charities or volunteer work or any community involvement since you've been back in Florida?
I think my job is takes a lot from me in that aspect. So I feel like I have a good balance there of trying to contribute the best that I can to the public sector and being a public servant in that capacity. I am involved in our church. I am part of a sorority as well. Have taken a backseat now, but I have the University of South Florida and was service chair formerly as well. And so service has always been something that I've been committed to.
Excellent.
And
I
community
know that
engagement is a huge part of public health, as you know.
among everything else, that I was told about your position that you currently have,
Sure.
you deal with the homeless coalition a lot and
Yes.
the homelessness issue. I know that's an issue that's facing Palm Beach County is facing.
Mhm.
Do you have any aspirations to somehow integrate that into the city, your role here at the city?
Yeah, of course. So I think about public service is, and being in the human service industry is that a homeless person can be our next door neighbor and very easily the next day we might not know it. So I think especially given the climate of the economy right now, affordable housing is really important to me. And I did get a chance to look at the comprehensive plan, that 250-page plan that you guys had. I didn't read every page of it. I got to look through it, but I know that's very important. And free housing and affordable housing is something that's part of the priority of Westlake. And so, yes, absolutely, it would be something that I would look at. And that's a lot of the times reasoning as to why individuals become homeless.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Thomas. I appreciate
Thank
your
you so
time.
much.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Leave it to me to run the clock. Mr. Wheeler.
Wow, that's a lot to follow up. Council, I appreciate your time today. My name is Jacob Wheeler. A little bit about myself. I've been a resident, my wife and I, over 2 years now. It's kind of crazy. Came up in Westlake, signed our contract in 2019 and closed in 2020. And we'll be welcoming our first child here in a few weeks, according to the doctor. So we're really excited. We started our family up here, and I just really wanted to be a part of the community. A little about my background is I'm not a Florida native. Moved to Florida when I was 14, like most Floridians. So, but I moved to Florida when I was 14, completed high school in Daytona Beach, joined the military, active duty Coast Guard for 10 years. Served shipboard as a shipboard firefighter and engineer, and moved down to Fort Lauderdale in 2009, where I served for 4 years, where I did law enforcement. I was a federal boarding officer, so I was a licensed federal police officer, essentially. Moved to upstate New York in 2012, 13, where I was an engineering petty officer with a local station. Pretty much third in the command echelon, worked a lot with the community. It's a very small vacation town. Got out in 2017. Lived in New York for another year. We moved back down here, and I wanted to get my career off in engineering, marine engineering. Completed a degree in business while working full time. And then, let's see, 2015, started my MBA, completed that last August. And then in 2018, I joined it was business development for a marine wholesaler. My role there is pretty much I work in the cruise division. So my role there is pretty much to develop business, I guess is the best way to say. I manage a $12 million budget at this moment. When I started, it was a $3 million budget. Grew it to $6 million last year in 2020, 2021. 2022, we have a $12 million budget set. My goal is with that position is to work with different cruise companies, contractors, run various projects, and insert ourselves in positions to where we can supply material and act as an asset to the end user. A lot of that is relatable when it comes to a growing city. That's one of the reasons I wanted to put my ring in the hat, was not just because I've been a public servant for 14 years nationally, but I really wanted to see a difference locally. And I wanted to, especially now that our family is growing now, I wanted to be on that front line, not just how I was in the military, but also here locally, and actually see the difference that, the council can make, and hopefully be a part of that difference as a council member. So it's pretty much it. I mean, not a whole lot, definitely a lot to follow up with. So
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. And thank you for your service
Thank
as
you.
well.
Simple question. We're still a growing city. Do you see any deficiencies in our city that are of concern to you currently?
Deficiencies, it's hard to spot deficiencies when we haven't really done a whole lot when it comes to, but there's still plenty of room to grow. I don't want to say that we really have deficiencies as a city, but I think our main focus needs to be sustainability and accessibility. I don't necessarily mean sustainability in renewable energies and stuff like that, but sustainability when it comes to maintaining our current millage rate, our current tax rate. Homes are getting more expensive every day here. We just sold a $1.1 million home in Westlake. That's great for the sellers. The buyers are going to be paying almost 2% a year in taxes on that. And, with the people that came here a few years ago, taxes are very manageable. But with the way taxes are now, and even though they've stayed the same, they plateaued, which is great, for the budget. But home prices continue to go up. And if even one little tick in our millage rate goes up, that can have a severe impact on the community and affordability for current community members, and accessibility. I mean, as a veteran, homes here are great. They were very affordable when I moved, but we are closely and fastly approaching the limit for VA loans, FHA loans, community assistance, and state assistance that is offered for housing when it comes to affordable housing grants and everything like that. And, obviously I don't want to see home prices go down, but I really want to make sure that this neighborhood or city is accessible to people of all backgrounds, that can come here, work here, live here, and stay in Westlake and not have to really see it as a commuter city. I would really hate to see Westlake as a place people from Miami go to escape and still have to do a 2-hour commute because they can't afford to live closer.
Understood. I agree. Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Wheeler. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
I see you were in the Navy.
Yes.
What do you think? You guys have very high ethics and service for our community as a Navy member. What would you bring from that, from all your environment, for what you learn? What would you bring to this council? What ethics? What would you want our city to have that we don't have right now? What do you think you can bring to us?
Well, I mean, being prior Coast Guard and Navy, the current Navy reservist, I don't really think I need to bring anything to the council when it comes to ethics. I think that everyone is operating very ethically, but one of my big things is honor and integrity. I want people to look at the council and not necessarily see it as a political seat. I'm not a politician by any means, and I don't intend to ever become one. And that's really the goal. Is I would like the city to see the council as not necessarily a political position, even though they're political titles, but that we know as community members that our council has our best interest when it comes to mind. When it comes to managing and welcoming new businesses or doing business outreach or business development to bring things to the community, that you guys are operating and the council is operating with our best interests at heart. And we're not looking just to get a quick build or get a big box store out here because, you know, they're great and they had some perks to come into the city, but that will make the hard calls when it comes down to it. And, you know, will make the turn down companies if they're not right for the city of Westlake.
Exactly. I see that you have a family, you're going to have a family. What will be the best interest for both of you as a family for Westlake to something that you wish that Westlake will have or for your family? Something very important
I mean,
for you and your family.
one of the reasons that we came out here is my wife is from Pembroke Pines. We lived in Pembroke Pines before moving up here, and her dad being a 40-year Miami-Dade police officer, you know, they stressed to me and told me what Pembroke Pines looked like 20 years ago, 15 years ago. It was all young families, kids all in the same age groups. You know, there wasn't just one 16-year-old in the neighborhood or one 5-year-old in the neighborhood. Everyone was driving around with, you know, an eye out for children. You could trust that your kid could go off, ride his bike down the street, you know, and not have to worry about traffic or crime or anything like that. Really, that's kind of the vision I have for Westlake and the end goal. Granted, there's a lot of construction going on, and that's not the safest traffic, but you know, there are things that I would like to see. You know, me and my wife talk about it all the time. I go, I'm going to be going to work one day, and you're going to be driving the golf cart to Publix or Winn-Dixie or taking the kids to Adrenaline World, or, you know, one day, you know, over to the elementary school. You know, we joke, it's like, you know, when they finish the extension out to the elementary school, I'm not going to wait in the car. I'm going to cut all the traffic with a golf cart, you know, and take the shortcut. You know, so that's really the vision I have is, you know, we're a golf cart community. A lot of that's to you, Mr. Mayor, you know, and I do see that there is, you know, a lot of room to grow with that. And, you know, we want everyone to be safe in the golf carts. They do bring in a different obstacle when it comes to traffic and cars. But I think it's going to be great moving forward. And it's really kind of the vision I have for it, you know.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Wheeler.
Greg?
As full disclosure, Jacob is my next door neighbor, so I know him very well. Great guy, helps everybody out around us, and but just wanted to mention that. Besides sustainability for the city, what would you look to accomplish if appointed, let's say during your first year?
Wow. First year, it's kind of you know, budget season's coming around the corner. So I'd really have to get a handle on the situation, what our current budget looks like, what our future budget looks like. I did attend a few city council meetings prior to this one. One of them was the budget committee. I mean, there was a lot of good news, a lot of great news for the city that, you know, we are going to be positive, you know, not necessarily needing Minto's help. But there were areas of concern that I saw when it came to where a majority of our revenue was coming from, because those weren't necessarily from sustainable routes. You know, permitting, great source of revenue, not a sustainable source of revenue in the long term, because eventually Westlake's going to be built out and there won't be needs for permits on a regular basis, especially to the degree at which we're getting them now. You know, so it's really hard to say what I would like to accomplish in my first year, but really I would like to I'm a numbers guy. I'm a business guy. When it comes down to it, I like numbers because they don't lie. They're black and white. They either work or they don't. You know, so really to get a better understanding of the budget, where we're at, where we can make improvements, where we can make cuts, if we even need to do that. You know, really my main goal is sustainability when it comes to the budget, you know, making sure that we can sustain our current tax rate, our current load of citizens, and we can continue the growth that we're at. Because growing is great, but if we grow at an unsustainable rate, there will be impacts that we won't necessarily see now. And if we don't have a long-term view for Westlake, it's easy to get caught up in what's in front of us and the great success that we're having now. But if we're not actively working to curb possible problems that we'll have 5 years, 10 years down the road, 15 years when, Minto is completely built out and there's no more development here, so that's it's a long-winded answer, but I can't really say I have any answers for what I'm going to exactly accomplish the first year.
Okay, one more question. In terms of your service for Coast Guard, Navy Reserve, and in your current job, have you ever had to implement policy at all?
I've been a part of policy making. I've sat on, substance abuse boards when it comes to local units, where we've had to form and create substance abuse panels and boards for individuals that have been in trouble, or creating policies for that, for young sailors that may have had too much to drink and they need to be evaluated, and we try and create policies that don't end people's career because of one mistake, but also are there to weed out the people that may be problems and, help get people the help they need. So.
Excellent. Mr. Wheeler,
Mr. O'Connor.
how are you, sir?
Good. How are you, sir?
Being here. Again, thank you for your military service. It's interesting to hear you speak, because much of your sentiment regarding this city echoes my own. A lot of your reasoning for wanting to join the council, it's like deja vu for myself, because I believe we're pretty aligned, and why I initially got involved seems to be a lot of the same reasons that you want to get involved in, and I commend you for that. I think it's great. And then you're having a baby, and it's pretty fantastic. Congratulations on that as well.
Thank you.
Couple questions. This one has nothing to do with the city. Your current role, you went from, I think you said 3 million to 6 million to now almost 12 million.
Yes, sir.
I'm just curious, did the pandemic, do you think it adversely affected your current job with the cruises, or did it actually help it?
It adversely affected, and I was very fortunate to maintain employment throughout that. But the division I work for, we are new division. We started about 4 years ago. So just before the pandemic really took a hit, we were doing great, and then the pandemic hit and knocked the majority of the industry on its butt. But we've been able to come back from that pretty significantly. But a lot of that is because of hard work, determination, and just persistence.
No pandemic, you could have $100 million budget right now versus
If the pandemic if we didn't have the pandemic, that current budget would probably be about double what it is today. So it's not a giant company, but it's a mid-sized U.S. based company, about $150 million a year in revenue, and our division is just a small part of that.
And you work from home?
I do. I spend a majority of my time working from home. I do have moments where I travel. I go aboard cruise ships and commercial vessels for surveys, a lot of them in the region: Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, Tampa. So, but a majority of my time I'm home, so.
Two more questions. One of them might be difficult, because it would even be difficult for me, but I'm curious. So one I've asked before is if you could pick one and rank one as number one, what do you think would be the greatest challenge our city faces? I'm going to add an element to that we have control over. So what's the number one greatest challenge that we as the city of Westlake face that we control our destiny?
Well, I would say we have control over my two big areas that I'm sustainability and accessibility. They go hand in hand, but if I had to pick one, it's sustainability. I really think that is that's going to determine our fate and how people view the city moving forward. And we have control over our budgets for a big degree, to a big degree. The council controls what money goes where, not necessarily, how many people move into Westlake, but that doesn't seem like a problem that we're going to be facing anytime soon. But really making sure that the model in which Westlake was started on is maintained and sustained to a degree that we can keep moving forward for years. And, we really hate to see things take a turn for the worse and, bad decisions that don't get corrected. I don't see any of those currently happening, but, it only takes one bad move or one bad decision to really kind of take things in a tumble in a wrong direction and cause people to leave Westlake.
Thank you. And the other side of that coin, what would you see as our greatest challenge that we do not have control over? That was the hard.
So there's a lot of there's a lot of areas that we don't have control over. But to say that we don't have a good handle, or the council or the city and developers don't have a good handle.
Pick one.
Yeah, it's hard to find an area that we don't necessarily have control over is kind of where I'm coming from. I can say that there are we don't have a good handle on the housing market, because we never will when it comes to accessible housing, affordable housing. I would say affordable housing may be something the city council doesn't have control over. As a council, that's more of a developer based, and development. There is control with development, but there's not a lot of control with the affordable housing stuff. That's really, but a lot of that is based off of what the current economic conditions are doing at the housing market. Affordable housing 5 years ago isn't affordable anymore. It's even hard to go to affordable housing areas or areas of economic development where the cities or counties are trying to get in local workforce and labor force. Those homes aren't even affordable. So that's really an area we don't have control over, but we don't make those calls.
Mr. Wheeler, thank you so much for your time. If anybody, we're 7:29 on the dot. So if anybody has any
Thank
other
you.
questions,
That was great. Thank you.
Then
yes. I just want to say how impressed I am at the four very, very, very strong candidates that we have here. And I think we're in great shape as a city either way. So, council comments, I believe, according to the agenda. Mr. Martinez.
No comment.
Ms. Valleron.
So I'm very impressed, and I congratulate the four of you because you're amazing. It's going to be very difficult to decide between all of you because each of you can bring some greatness to our council. And I thank you for trying. No? So we see next week? No, next week. 2 weeks. Okay.
Same thing is, I applaud each of you for applying and showing interest in your city and wanting to join the council. And I look forward, whoever that might be, when we discuss it again on May 9th, and serving with whichever four of you might be it. So that's it.
Guys, great work. Again, thank you for showing the initiative and the desire to want to be involved. And certainly, there's only one seat available, but I want to implore all four of you, to whomever it doesn't go to, continue to get involved. Committees, there's going to be more committees coming down the line. We have some committees already established. We'll be establishing more. Definitely, because every single one of you would easily be an asset to this city. So I leave you with that. And thank you so much. City Attorney?
Thank you, sir. Just to outline what you'll have on your agenda at the next meeting, you'll have filling a vacancy for the unexpired term mayor seat. You will be required to take a vote, and you'll need a majority vote of 3 votes to appoint someone. That will be the process. You can afford the opportunity to the candidates, again, to speak if you want to. Or you can just take it up on amongst yourselves and have a discussion. I would respectfully remind you, you have the Sunshine Law. You cannot discuss the candidacy or any issues with your colleagues on the council. You can talk to the candidates between now and then if you want to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. City Manager?
I'm glad it's not my decision. Again, stellar candidates. I would be most happy to work with any one of you. It's the caliber of resident that we have attracted is, I've been doing this a lot of years, is amazing. I look at everybody that's out here. I look at the commitment. I look at the enthusiasm, and I'm blessed to be the city manager here. It's just a real pleasure. And I really, really thank all of the residents for what you're doing in the council. Remind you, we do need at the next meeting, and we'll announce it tonight, special events committee. We need to appoint some people to that. So that will be on the agenda.
We'll be on that agenda.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and put it on the agenda. We'll put out some PR right now to get it out there. I know it's been mentioned before at a council meeting, so I'm bringing it up now. But we do need to get that wrapped up for 4 or 5 people to be put onto that, because the Fourth Fest is moving forward. It's moving forward well. We need some more additional public input as part of the process, because I think it's going to be a phenomenally large event.
Fantastic. Public comments. Zoe?
Mayor, I received a previous comment card. We don't have many people online, but one person, if you wish to make a comment, please raise your virtual hand. I don't believe we have any comments, Mayor.
Excellent. On that note, I will adjourn at 7:33 p.m. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's some strong candidates.